I wanted to take a few seconds here and just show you my pineapple plant. In the past, I have made videos where, we cut the top off of a pineapple, and I know there's tons of videos out there that show you how to do this, but my mother cut just the top of a pineapple off of a store-bought pineapple, and she just stuck it down in this old hanging basket and gave it to me. It was just a little bitty thing, and it grew and it produced a pineapple, and I cut the stalk off because once it produces a pineapple, that's like the end game. It doesn't really produce any more leaves after that. Well, after I did that, I just left it in here and watered it and fertilized it, and it's formed a little pup, a little side shoot that came off the side, and it grew and grew, and I didn't do anything to it except water it and kept it in my greenhouse here, so it overwintered. And I want you to look at what's forming down in there. Isn't that cute? It's a little baby bloom, which will turn into the pineapple. Now, normally, I've read that you have to do a treatment with, I used rotten apples. It's an ethylene gas that basically causes the pineapple plant to change hormonally, and it'll produce the bloom. But I didn't do any ethylene gas to this plant except the first time for the first bloom, which has been long time ago. So I don't know if that's just a leftover situation or if the plant was mature enough that the root system, it could support it. I don't know, but I've got another bloom and I didn't do anything. So it's so exciting. I made a video where I actually harvested and ate the pineapple, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it is the best tasting pineapple I've ever had, probably because it was my own. I'm sure there was a psychological component to that. I also have a pineapple plant that's actually growing in the earth. I dug this area out in my greenhouse, pulled all the gravel away. I've got two Double Mahoi bananas here. Actually, I've got several pups, but two pretty good sized ones. And I just stuck this pineapple plant, which again I just got from a store-bought pineapple, and cut the top off, and I stuck it down in the ground. And this is actually the top of the one that I show in my video, where I cut it off of my pineapple that I harvested, and then I put it down in some water, let it root, and once it formed some good roots, I came out here and actually stuck it down in the earth. And if you watch that video, you'll see how much larger this pineapple plant has gotten. It does not have any pineapples. It really has to mature a little bit. You can see what it normally looks like down in there. It just forms spiky leaves that come out and keep forming a stalk. And I also have another pineapple plant in here on the other side of this little baby Double Mahoi banana plant. So I will keep you posted. We'll watch this and see how it develops. It's kind of a neat process, and I don't see why anybody could not grow this. It needs a lot of sun, and it has to be protected in the winter from frost or any kind of low temperatures. It never got below 40 in this greenhouse all winter. So if you have a nice sunny sunroom, you could grow your own pineapple, because you clearly can see it's growing in this very shallow hanging basket, which is only probably got maybe 5 inches of dirt in the deepest part, and it doesn't seem to mind that at all. So I'll keep you posted on its growth. Today is March 30th, and you can see the slow progression of my pineapple bloom, which will turn into the pineapple. It's come out just a little bit more than it was, but it is a slow process, but fun nonetheless. But one thing I wanted to show you was my Double Mahoi banana plant. I had put this in the ground last year, and it's only about, I would say not quite even 4 foot tall, but close to 4 feet tall. And it is producing the flag leaf. You can see it's sort of a dwarf leaf compared to, you know, the normal size leaf. And inside here, this thick part will be the banana bloom. And under each petal will have a hand of bananas. Now this plant is not, in my opinion, big enough to produce yet, but it thinks it is, I guess. So there's you can see sort of the reddish color forming there. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I hope it can produce the regular size bananas that it, you know, normally does, which are not, you know, huge. They're not like store-bought bananas, but it's a dwarf. So, but they're certainly edible, and they're very delicious. I have several videos posted about my banana plant. I have 2 Double Mahois here. The original mother plant, which is this one. No, I'm sorry. The original mother plant I cut down. She produced bananas and was finished, so I cut it down. And this was pup number 1. And it produced bananas, but it did it in the winter, and it just sort of stopped developing. And so those bananas really did not have the energy because of the winter months. It didn't have enough sunlight. It got kind of cool in the greenhouse, so it sort of just stunted the whole process. But it's got a third pup here, which is actually taller than the one over there that's forming the flower, but it is still not showing any indication of producing a flower. It's still putting out the very large, normal leaves. So this little guy here, there's a pup there, and then here's a pup, and this is the one that's got the bloom on it right here. You can't really see it because of all the leaves. So it will be interesting to see if this produces a normal size hand of bananas. I'm going to throw it some fertilizer. I use, I don't really know what you're supposed to use specifically, but I throw in the citrus tone, Espoma citrus tone. It's organic. And since it is fruit bearing, I just kind of thought, well, that's probably the one that makes the most sense to me. So I'm going to sprinkle some of that in there because I didn't realize it was producing this. So I'm sure it's going to need a little more nutrition to do that. But I will keep you posted on it. The flag leaf is super tiny compared to what the past ones have looked like. So I'm thinking it's probably not going to produce a very large bunch of bananas. But we might be surprised. So today is April 3rd, and you can see how much the pineapple has grown. It's, gosh, I guess maybe an inch of it has emerged from down inside there. So, you know, it's a slow process for it. It's also turned off colder, and I think that sort of delayed the progress a little bit. And the banana, you can see the bloom. It's kind of hard to tell it's a bloom, but this right here, that's the little flag leaf, which is very small compared to most of the flag leaves. Let me get around here on this other side. You can kind of see a little bit better of the color and what it's doing. So this whole thing here is the bloom, and it's very small compared to the last one. The last one was probably triple this diameter, but you can see how it's coming up. So honestly, I'm really not expecting much from this particular bloom. This plant is just very short. It's not just not really large enough, I don't think, to support an actual full, you know, crop of bananas. So we'll just kind of see what happens. I don't know why it got in such a hurry. So today is April 13th, and just to show you the progress, this is the pineapple that's growing. It's really small. It's going to be significantly smaller than the original one that I had. I'm assuming it's just because maybe it's the second generation on this particular root system, and I really hadn't been fertilizing it very well. It's in the same original pot that doesn't have really much substance to the dirt. I didn't realize that it would even produce another one, so I didn't, I guess, take care of it like I should have. But it's still, it's growing and it's cute, but it looks like it's beginning to already make the little green top notch, and that flower is just really significantly smaller than the original one that was on the mother plant. But also the banana plant, this is I think it's been a few days since I've shown you the progress of the bloom. You can see kind of in relationship to my hand, it's probably a good foot long from the neck to the tip. And as these roll back underneath here, on each petal, there will be a little hand of bananas, usually a double row of bananas. And this is not a very large bloom either, because this plant is so, short. It really should be closer to 6 feet tall before it started producing. So we'll see. We'll see if the bananas are stunted or if they're normal size. And then also this pineapple plant, it's also producing the bloom. So it's a little bit behind the other one, but I'm hoping the bloom is larger. We'll see. Again, the pot's not, it's a pretty decent size, and it's deeper. And I did fertilize this one recently, but I didn't fertilize it prior to this. So I'm going to continue to fertilize it throughout the development of this bloom, and maybe we'll get it to size up a little bit. I doubt it. My guess is that once it's determined the size, you probably can't increase the size, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about it nonetheless. This is the one, of course, that I did the rotten apple technique on it for a week, and but the other one, the first one I showed you, I didn't, so I don't know that it's really necessary to do that. My greenhouse is a jungle. I need to get everything out now that we've hopefully passed our last frost date. So I'll keep you posted. Well, today's the next day, and you can see there's been kind of a dramatic change in my banana. But I wanted to show you because you can actually see the little bananas. Now, this is not at all really as dramatic as the first bananas that I had on my other tree. But like I've said, it's not shocking because this is a much smaller tree. But you can see this is the bloom petal that's curled back. And underneath, this is the first actual petal. This was sort of just like a false leaf kind of thing that encased the bloom. But you can see the little hand of bananas. And these are the blooms at each end. And those bananas will get a little bit larger. Here you can see on the bottom, this is the side of another banana, and this is another petal. And it's going to expose its bananas here soon. And you can see the leaves are curling. And I will cut off after it gets probably about 4 bunches like this. I'll probably cut the end of this bloom off so it can focus all of its energy on these top hands, because otherwise they'll just all be really super small. And so I wanted to show you kind of what's going on. If you watch my previous video from like a year ago, I did a whole series on this banana because I was super excited about it, and you can see the big difference. The other one had quite a bit more bananas in each row of this hand. It was a double, and this is a double, but this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bananas, and I think the other one had I don't know, 12-ish. I'd have to go back and look, but it was a lot more bananas. Hopefully that will mean, since there are fewer, perhaps these might get larger. Again, with this being such a immature tree, I don't understand why it was really in such a hurry to produce its bloom. It really had a lot more growing to do, because see, now that this plant's produced this bloom, I'll have to cut this whole plant down here, because it will not produce another. It will stop producing anything. This is the final thing. The goal is to produce the bloom. But the root system continues to produce pups that come up. And I've got 2 more decent sized pups coming, so they'll also produce. But this is earlier. This produced a bloom significantly earlier than the original plant that I have on the other side over here produced. So this is going to have a long season. So it may produce them, and they may develop and ripen a lot faster. So, you know, it's interesting how the variations and how these each one performed. The first one did wonderful, and then I had the pup over here on the second. This is the original mother plant I cut down. It had a wonderful bunch of bananas, which you can see on the video. And then this is the first generation pup, which also produced bananas, but its bloom came really late in the season. So when it made its bananas, the stalk did not really even come out. I actually cut a hand of bananas off right here, because they were kind of down in there. I had to cut a lot of the actual stalk of the plant away from it, because the bananas were going down in there. It's like it lost energy to force that whole arm out, and I cut a bunch. So these have been sitting here all winter. These banana plants, if they don't have enough sun and enough heat, they just sit here. They do nothing. And so the bananas have been sitting here. Now I am anxious to see, because I thought all of these would probably rot, but I'm anxious to see if maybe, since now the plant has energy again, because we're getting longer days, it's very hot in this greenhouse, even though it's still April and it's fairly cool outside. This greenhouse gets sometimes 20 or more degrees warmer inside. So it's easy for this greenhouse to get upwards 100 degrees. So I've got the windows open and fans blowing. So I think perhaps these will go ahead and turn yellow and ripen. But because it produced that hand so late in the season and sat there all winter, it was also sort of stunted. So it all depends on when they produce their bloom and how large the plant is. The first mother plant here was the normal thing you expect. She was about 6 foot tall, maybe about 5.5 feet tall, and went through the whole cycle perfectly. But this one here, I believe, prematurely sent out its bloom. And this one, even though the plant was not premature, the time of year when it sent out its bloom was way late. And so it just didn't have the energy to sustain that throughout the winter. But I'm excited to see that it doesn't look like these bananas are rotting, and they might just continue on where they left off, which would be awesome. I'm expecting a bloom on this one. Hopefully not at the end of this season. I hope it just sits here and waits, and maybe it produces one next spring. But it's a possibility that it will produce this summer. And if so, I'm probably going to be left with the same scenario as that. And there you can see the little pup coming up. But anyway, and here's the pineapple. It is very slow, but it is starting to emerge. And it is an extremely slow process on these pineapple plants. The banana plant is changing rapidly every day, and so it's kind of exciting to watch it, but the pineapples seem to take forever. There's a good view of the actual bloom, and you can see up underneath this petal the little tiny blooms that are on each banana fruit. So anyway, it's exciting. Here's this one here. This is going to be a really small little pineapple. I don't think it's going to get much bigger than that, but you know, it might surprise me. Today is April 15th, and you can begin to really see the second hand that's forming here. And if you look up underneath this curled petal, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's really starting to, the neck is starting to fall down. As a matter of fact, it's pushing up against this leaf. So it'll take a while for these bananas to, first the flower will dry up, the bananas will continue to grow, and then they will ripen, but it takes months for that to happen. At least it did on the last one. So, and an update on the pineapple. This is going to require some patience. It hasn't really done much of anything, so, but it's still kind of exciting because I know it's coming. I don't know how large it's going to be. Time will tell. But I'll give you updates from time to time. Thanks for watching.